As we know, the Clippers are going to be a very interesting team to watch coming into this next season, though it's not for the reason that most people would assume. Thanks for tuning into this video. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like the video so that the algorithm knows to push it out so that we can get more viewers on the channel. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and join the Patreon. The link will be in the description below. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this one. We expect that the Clippers will be a phenomenal team this upcoming season. At the very least, they will be better than they were last year as long as they remain healthy. The expectations are high for this team, and even if they do not end up landing James Harden in some sort of blockbuster trade deal, you can expect them to be a formidable foe for any team that comes across them in the regular season and if they stay healthy in the postseason as well. In my personal opinion, though I am not particularly a Clippers fan, I do understand that being able to re-sign Russell Westbrook for less than $5 million a year is very important and very helpful for that team. They claim that he is a leader in the locker room, as he was one as soon as he came to the area. Understanding that we know what Russell Westbrook brings to the game. He's a high energy guy, high intensity guy, plays best inside of a broken set. He likes fast breaks. He loves fast breaks. And very structured offenses limit the capabilities of what he's capable of doing. And while he has lost a bit of his quickness and his athleticism, he's still liable to dunk at the rim and really just get out in transition and make things happen. That being said, when you pair him alongside a healthy Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, those are two absolute two-way demons on the court. And as hard as it is for you to get a stop, it's going to be even harder for you to get a bucket when they're both playing together. Combine that with the mid-30s and Nick Batum, depending on how much more effort they can get out of him going forward, and then Zubac at the center spot, and you're pretty set overall, in my opinion. Obviously, on the bench, you have Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Kenyon Martin Jr., Marcus Morris, and Mason Plumlee, as well as Robert Covington, though he's not the person that he was before, and Bones Highland. So they do have a healthy bench. I wouldn't say it's probably top 3, top 5 in the league, but it's by no means opening up the cupboard and seeing salt and pepper as your only seasonings to cook with. They definitely have more than that. But even that aside, their top 5 is very comfortable. Now, obviously, Zubac doesn't provide much of a shooting touch, and he's a very much traditional big rolling to the rim after a screen. But you can live with that when you have the other pieces that they have. Russell Westbrook, for some reason, decided to learn how to shoot the 3 ball very effectively when they were in the playoffs last year. And though they ended up losing those games for the most part, he kept them alive and gave that team hope without having their 2 previous stars on the court. Knowing that Nick Batum doesn't have that much time left, but understanding that he still has a good amount left in the tank to give them, I find him to be a reliable role player, but you're not going to expect him to give you 20 in any particular game. That being said, he is a solid shooter, and my best remembrance of his days would be his days when he played with either Portland or more preferably in Charlotte when he was with the Hornets, and he ended up securing a very hefty bag before he ended up with the Clippers. That being said, I believe that Russell Westbrook fits this team very well because even though he's not the greatest defender, he has the tenacity and energy to where you're not willingly going to try and hunt him out. And the biggest thing is there's nobody that you really want to hunt at any particular point in a game out of this starting 5. Now, you might want to get into a pick and roll and have Zubac at going at your point guard on the defensive side of the ball. But aside from that, there's not really a great mismatch because Nicholas Batum isn't a slouch on defense. Kawhi Leonard has been known for years and years, despite his injuries, to be one of the greatest defenders the game's ever seen. Paul George is the same sort, and Russell Westbrook is just tenacious. So all those things culminating together on the fact that Russell Westbrook decided to return because he liked it there just tells you how high the ceiling could be for this team. Now, I say could be because, as we know, the story of Kawhi's past several years of his career have been his injuries. And Paul George has suffered a little bit of the injury bug as well, more particularly as we saw last season than anything. But when healthy, the tandem is almost unstoppable in the games that we've seen. Ironically enough, last season, Kawhi Leonard played in 50 games and Paul George played in 56. They both ended up averaging 23.8 points per game. Zubac led the team with rebounds with 9.9. Paul George led the team in assists with 5.1, and he also led the team with steals with 1.5. That being said, Kawhi was right behind him with 1.4, as to be expected, and Zubac led the team with blocks with 1.3. Overall, this team was very effective. Having added Westbrook to that lineup obviously boosts them from a playmaking standpoint, so you don't have to rely on Paul George to create for other people's shots as much, though obviously having a forward or two that could provide you with more assists than necessary is never an indictment on what Russell Westbrook can do, though Russell Westbrook was rendered relatively ineffective when he played with LeBron because LeBron has been known as a primary ball handler for the majority of his career. And he's been the guy who's had to rebound, he's had to create for other people, he's had to get his own shot. So when you added Russell Westbrook to that, it kind of either tells you that you're going to limit what LeBron does or Westbrook's going to suffer because Westbrook can't be Westbrook. And so you took that dynamite and you shoved it in a bottle and sealed it away. And that's why people, for the most part, consider him to be really bad last year when that wasn't really the case at all. Now, he did have some up and down games, but there's a lot of players that got away with, in my opinion, much worse during the season. That being said, when he got traded to the Clippers, everybody loved him, everything was great, and things started looking up for him. But at the end of the day, I think that the most important thing, if you are the Clippers, again, is staying healthy, keeping your foot on the gas, making sure you're resting your stars when they need to, because obviously we've come to a point where resting on back-to-backs is going to be a very key thing, especially leading to the playoffs, because no matter how good we see this team play in the few games that Kawhi and Paul George play together, you need them to play together in the playoffs, because if you don't have them in the playoffs, the regular season is for naught. There's no reason. Add that to the fact that Russell Westbrook's going to be there this year, and they might potentially, possibly get James Harden. Even without James Harden, this is a phenomenal team. But if you add James Harden, that means you're probably going to move Nick Batum to the bench, which bolsters your bench, makes your starters much better. But it just depends on what kind of pieces you're going to trade, because you're obviously going to have to get a third team involved, because they're not going to sit there and just get bamboozled for Norman Powell. But who's to say that the Heat, after missing out on Damian Lillard, don't want to get into the mix a little bit? Nobody really knows. But I think that in the coming days and weeks, we will see some clarity right before the season starts up, obviously, come October time. And with that being said, I believe that the Clippers should still finish at the very least third in the Pacific. I could see them taking first, because we do know that the Kings were first last season, but they're also in the toughest division in the Western Conference, because you also have the Warriors, you also have the Suns on top of the Lakers. So it's really just a race to see who can be the best team to make the playoffs, because realistically all five of the teams are playoff positives, and most of them are considered to be contenders, if not for one player they have on their team, for a culmination of players they have on their team. But only time will tell what the Clippers will be and their narrative based on their health. But with all that being said, thanks for tuning in this video, guys. Make sure to like the video so that the algorithm knows to push this out to further viewers. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe, turn on those post notifications, join the Patreon, whose link will be in the description. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. I love to have intelligent discussions with you guys down below. And without any further ado, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in to this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.